Good morning, everyone. We're thrilled to have you with us today because we're here with Guy Michlin, the co-founder of EatWith, the company that is helping you answer the real question of where the locals eat. Thanks so much for joining us, Guy.
My pleasure.
I want to start out with you describing EatWith by filling in the blank. So EatWith is not
your regular restaurant.
So how did you guys went on a trip, you and your wife, and you were trying to find out where the locals ate. So how is EatWith a solution to that?
So usually when I travel, and I think it's relevant to many people when they travel, you always want to have this connection with the locals, and you want to do what the locals do, but you rarely have the opportunity to do so. And in this particular trip, through a friend of a friend of a friend, we managed to be invited to a local dinner. But now EatWith actually allows you, wherever you travel, to eat with the locals and get the local insights on what to do in a specific city or a specific country without needing to have friends or family in this particular city.
And how does it work?
So it's pretty simple. You just log into eatwith.com. You search for the city that you're going, assuming you're a traveler. And if we are present in this particular city, you just see the different offerings. You make your booking online. You show up, have a great time, and make new friends.
Great.
Yeah. And you guys, you had this really, really cool presentation at TechCrunch Battlefield where you actually launched your New York branch, and the panel featured investors like David Tisch, and they were asking you some pretty tough questions, though. So what did you learn from that experience?
That you should be prepared to questions, not just prepare your pitch.
How do you prepare for the questions?
So if you, in this particular case, we just invested all the time in preparing the presentation. We actually didn't sit down to think about the questions that the panel would ask. But if you do sit down, it's pretty simple to come up with the questions that will come up. Just in this specific case, we didn't do that.
Is there anything that you had to refine?
Based on this, on the presentation and the Q&A?
Yeah.
Oh, it just made us think about all the points that they made were valid points. We just needed to reflect afterwards and to learn. For example, they asked pretty specific questions and basic questions, how much a host can make and what's the frequency that he's hosting. So these are all simple data questions that we should have had then and we have it today. And then they had a more strategic, fundamental questions that we learned from. We sat down afterwards, we analyzed it, and we definitely learned from it.
That's great. Well, it's clear that it's working. And like we said at the beginning, one of the most unexpected parts of EatWith was the fact that locals are gravitating to it like crazy. How did you adapt your business model once you noticed that happening?
It didn't require a lot of adaptation. In some cities, for example, like Barcelona, it just required us to translate the website and to be more up to date with the local trends. But the platform is the same platform. So it didn't require like a dramatical shift in what we're doing.
How about for your marketing efforts? Because now you're marketing to host tourists and locals. Are there some strategies that have been working better than others?
Yeah, for marketing, it's different. Marketing for a local and for a travel. So in Barcelona, we actually added another person to the team over there. And all she does is mostly local PR and awareness efforts, which we didn't have before. We're doing one big event every month in Barcelona for the locals. And these are things that we just started doing once we realized that the local crowd is interested and we need to create more awareness in a given city for the locals.
Is that something that having someone on the ground there who's specifically in charge of that, is that something you'll scale to each of your cities?
I'm still not sure. So today we have presence in 4 cities on the ground out of 160 cities. And we're still working out like what's the game plan for next year. For sure, we will need to have people on the ground in strategic cities. But for how long and how many people, that's still something that we're trying to figure out.
Great.
Yeah. And so, again, going back to the TechCrunch thing, I know one of their biggest questions had to do with your scalability. And I mean, it seems like the most challenging part to me is having to screen everybody. And I know you did this physically from the beginning, and you still do. You see if they're verified and everything. So now that you're in so many cities, though, how have you refined that part of your business? Can that go on?
Yeah, so I think we found the sweet spot today on how to do it without needing necessarily to have people on the ground. So the way it works is that we're basically doing a screening process via Skype for all the hosts that go through the applications. And then in specific places, we either send photographers, just like Airbnb is doing, as another layer of verification, or we have ambassadors that we're working with that also come into a demo dinner and basically check out the place.
And background checks and everything?
Right now, we're not doing background checks. That's something we're looking at. Because we're in so many continents and countries that there's no one unified system to actually run a background check.
Right. And so then tell me a little bit more about your EatWith guarantee, which protects hosts for up to $1 million. How did you get that insurance coverage?
So first of all, this insurance is only a specific location, it's still not global. We're working now to make it a global thing. And actually, it took us like a few good months to put it in place because honestly, no insurance company, they didn't even know how to look at this product. So it took us a long time to convince them that it's okay and that it's basically a product that can be insured.
On the note of scaling, Guy, you guys have scaled immensely in only a year. What are the 3 most important things you ask yourself before adding on a new city?
So we're looking at basically the demand side and the supply side. That's obvious because it's a marketplace. On the demand side, we're trying to figure out if the local market is big enough and whether there's enough potential in terms of tourists visiting a given city. We are looking in terms of the supply side, how many applications and what's the quality of the applications that we got from a given city. And I guess the language is also an important factor. So we prefer, if it's possible, to start with English-speaking cities, or at least cities that a lot of locals speak also English.
Great, and you guys just raised an $8 million Series A back in September. So first of all, congratulations on that.
Thank you.
Second, I know that Greylock Ventures led that round and Simon Rothman joined your board. What are you learning working alongside him?
Well, I don't know where to start. We learned, it's a different company thanks to Simon and to Greylock. Every aspect of the business. So we completely changed the way we think about the supply, about the experience itself. We started to invest a lot of time and effort in actually designing the offline experience and making sure that it's consistent. So wherever you go to and eat within the world, there will be some elements that will repeat and things that we're doing to make sure that you'll have a great experience. And also the way we think about growth, distribution, basically every aspect of the business, Simon had tremendous insights and value to add.
That's great. And one of the things you mentioned was having, each experience is going to be unique, but there'll be some things that remind you that it's an EatWith experience. What are those things right now?
So we're now in the process of rolling out a kit to all the hosts, so that we did a beta pilot with 20 hosts around the world, and the idea is that, for example, on the door of every EatWith host, when you walk in, there will be an EatWith, kind of like a sign that will tell you that it's an EatWith experience. Because many times what we found out that, especially when you're a foreigner in a city or when you travel, you don't exactly know the streets, and even the intercom system is different. Like I've just come back from Barcelona, and no matter how many times I've been there, I never managed to get the apartment system. So having a sticker on the intercom and having a sign on the door and having some kind of unified experience in terms of the way the table is set, the length of the dinner, just small things, but that introduce consistency between the different offerings. And we still have a lot of things to do, but we basically started the process about 4 months ago with this beta that we did, and the reactions were great. So now we're rolling it out to other parts around the world.
Great.
Awesome. You'll probably need a GPS for some of those places too, huh?
Yeah, that's true.
So, can you actually elaborate on some of those experiences that customers will consistently get and how you're managing that?
What do you mean?
So you said that every single time there will be some sort of a special experience. Simon helped you develop this. I'm just wondering though how you manage that from home to home.
Especially because no one's watching the hosts do it.
Right. No, the idea is we created a kit to all the hosts with this basic elements. Some of them I told you, and there are more. For example, napkins with poems about food. There are candles with some Eat With writing on them. And we just give it to the host, and it's up to the host whether they want to use it or not. Obviously, they're not working for us, so we can't force it on them. We can just recommend it to them, and it's up to each one to decide which part of those kits to use and how. But
Gotcha.
we got a lot of feedback around. We got a lot of feedback, and we learned a lot. So I hope that the way they're designed and the things that are in those kits, it's just something that people will find valuable.
Yeah. And so now, how are you viewing partnerships? Because there's so much potential for so many different partnerships in this business.
We just started looking at it right now, actually, because up till a few months ago, we were a very, very small team, so we didn't even have the capacity to do any partnerships. Like, partnerships is something that takes time and a lot of effort, usually. And now, as we grew the team, that's something that we started looking at it.
Yeah, who's handling that?
Mostly me.
Gosh. So how many people did you have to have in place on your team before you can go out and do that?
So right now the team is 18 people, and we just moved now from or relocated from Tel Aviv to San Francisco. So that took some effort and shifting things around. But now we built the team here in San Francisco, so I have more time to actually start developing partnerships.
What are you looking for as you expand the team?
Passionate people, smart people, and with the relevant experience, usually. Although experience is something that you can get, so that's not a must, but passionate and smart people.
All right, so now on the host side of things, let's give them some advice. How can they increase their ratings and reviews?
So last night, 2 days ago, I was in Barcelona at a dinner. At the end of the dinner, the host actually asked all the guests not to forget to write a review because it's very helpful for them. So besides having guests and just being very, very persistent with them afterwards to ask them to write reviews, there's not much you can do because it's only people that have been to a dinner can write a review.
Maybe some free dessert or something, huh?
Could be.
So, Guy, the last 18 months have really been crazy for your team, especially with your scale at such a large rate. What's your biggest dream for this time next year?
It's interesting. So this weekend when I was in Barcelona, I was sitting around the table, and in a way, the dream already came through because came to life because there were people from all over the world sitting around the table and meeting, and it's something that probably they would not have done if it wasn't for EatWith. And then you meet with hosts that quit their job and they became entrepreneur, and they tell you that they became free basically. And in a way, that's amazing. That's everything I could have hoped for. But if you ask me for next year, I would just want to see it multiplies to all over the world, not just specific cities. And instead of having 500 hosts that are entrepreneurs, I would like to have 50,000 hosts that quit their work and they can do what they want and to be basically owners of their own time and their own business. So, yeah.
Yeah, and it's pretty awesome. I've seen some people holding up pictures saying, "Thank you, EatWith," because I guess you helped them meet each other and now they're engaged.
Yeah, that's true. That also happened.
Pretty cool. And then one last question for me. I mean, right now there's a lot of, I want to be the Airbnb of X. Mm-hmm. So for all those startups, I mean, you're actually doing it though. Mm-hmm. So what is your best advice to them?
Oh, that's a tough one. First of all, I think there is some preparation and some thoughts and some research obviously that needs to be done. Make sure that there is a real business behind. But then that's what we did. We just went and we launched it, and you have to see pretty quickly. You know, within a few months if it's working or not, and just need to, I guess, need to get feedback pretty quickly from consumers and see if there's a real product there that consumers see as valuable. I don't know I don't know if it's the best advice. I'm trying to think if there's anything more concrete.
I think at that point it's all about experimentation. I'm not sure concrete has any meaning in the entrepreneur's dictionary.
Yeah, no, it's true. I don't know if in hindsight, if we had to do it again, I think we would have done it much faster. Like, I think that
faster than this?
Yeah, there are
impressive.
There are a lot of
come on, you have a baby.
No, but there are like all those lean methodologies. You read it and it's hard to implement it in reality. And I think that in hindsight, there are a lot of things that we should have done or tested much faster than we actually did in reality.
Yeah, I remember Steve Case saying at the Lean Startup Conference last year that the Lean model, it's like seeing something in IKEA, but you still have to bring it home and build it, and it's a mess.
So I guess, I guess that's my point. So really being very disciplined in trying to implement those lean methodologies. That if I had to go back in time now, that's something I would invest a lot of time and effort in doing.
Great. Well, thank you so much for joining us today, Guy.
My pleasure.
Yeah, thank you. And really quick, how can our viewers eat like the locals? Where can they find you?
So right now we're in 160 cities around the world in 30 countries. You can see the list on the website. In the US, if you're asking, it's mostly New York, San Francisco, and there are a couple of other cities coming online as we speak. So New Orleans and a few more cities in the US.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much.
Cool. Thanks a lot.